we'll start with the Packers, okay? And we know you're an optimist, and it's inspiring to me, Tom, because as a Viking fan, it's hard to be an optimist. But
his optimism is justified, and yours isn't.
Yeah, I'm trying to be better. Like I'm seriously trying to be better. And Jordan Love in 2023, that's when our channel started to take off a little bit. Was Packer fans kind of enjoying us wallowing in the Packers having a third quarterback?
I know that life. Yeah.
The end of that 2023 season, unbelievable, right? With Jordan Love last year, I think it was a little disappointing. Not a Packer fan, so I can't speak for them, but I'd imagine they'd agree mostly. But we've been saying, and we've defended Jordan Love a lot, that the injuries played a big part in that, I believe.
Sure.
So do you think coming into this year, because it seems like some Packers fans are a little more mixed than maybe is warranted. Coming into this year, do you think Jordan Love is more likely to approach that 2023, the highs, maybe not quite that level, or play similarly to last year where it was, efficient but a little underwhelming?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, because you go back to that 23 season, right? So that's his first year as a starter, right? Because he'd just been sitting behind Rodgers, and the only playing time he got was against the Chiefs, when Rodgers had COVID. So the first year he gets drafted, there's no preseason, right? Because COVID. So we have no idea what he looks like. And then in 2021, everything that I heard coming out of the Packers was bad about Jordan Love. It was just it's not good. I had former players reaching out to me being like, I heard this, and I was like, that's not great. So it just altogether wasn't looking great. And so coming into the 23 season, Love struggled, man. I mean, there was a lot of struggling going on. The offensive line wasn't great. Receivers weren't going after balls. There's the famous Raiders game where Christian Watson, they throw it up one-on-one, and it's kind of oh, okay, no, interception, we lost.
Yep.
I remember
Denver
that
game was bad. There was a couple heartbreaking losses. And then there was a time in 2023, I'm pretty sure I made a video. I was like, Packers are a bad football team right now because they just were not putting it together.
We made a video that said Jordan Love is finished.
Yeah, I was not ever going that far because I don't know. I've watched the NFL for a really long time.
You're optimistic.
We had to try and grasp onto any hope we could have.
We're done. But that's what I was getting in the DMs, right? It was just oh, Jordan Love's terrible. I think there are people in the camp of there's no way that the Packers are going to get 3 great quarterbacks in a row, right? There was that camp. Then there's the camp of I will be really pissed off if the Green Bay Packers get 3 quarterbacks in a row. So I have an agenda that's going after it. And then there's also his actual struggles as I'm using in the biggest quotes, rookie QB, right? In which there was consistency, timing, and what have you. But especially after that Thanksgiving game with the Lions, where we went in and we were pretty beat up, and they won. Holy crap, man! That was the start of okay. There's some throws that are this is pretty good, and you saw it inconsistently throughout the season, and then it just they put it all together. The blocking got better, the receivers got better, Love got better. And they got pretty close to beating the 49ers in that divisional round. And if anything, we beat the Cowboys.
Probably should have beat the 49ers, honestly.
Yeah, I wish.
We don't need, why don't we make a truce right now? We don't need to talk about, New Orleans and 09.
The NFC West, man,
we could all be civil here, I think.
Yeah, we'd be civil. But so heading into 24, there was a ton of anticipation, not just for Jordan Love, who went on a tear near the end of that season, but it was also for receivers too, right? I'm sure you guys talked about it. I talked about it a million times of who's going to be wide receiver 1. It's not like we're having that conversation now still, but it was Dontavian Wicks, right? Oh man, the route running is incredible. Jaden Reed can do anything. He play out of the backfield. He can be all over the field. He can take one. Christian Watson, home run ball. And even if you throw a slant to him, the guy can take off. Romeo Doubs, really consistent hands. And so heading into the 24 season, it made sense why the Packers have to pay this guy, right? $55 million. You see, Brock Purdy's getting paid $53 million. Dak Prescott's getting paid $60 million. Trevor Lawrence is getting $55 million. Joe Burrow, who has a Super Bowl to his name, 55. And so that never bothered me. I was like, okay, yeah, they saw what they wanted to see, that at least the potential is there. And so the guy can play football. And so in 24, I think it's a mix of a couple things. You mentioned the injury, right? So that's literally week 1. That's pretty tough. And on top of that, yeah, receivers were dropping balls. There was injuries abound, and not making excuses, because at the same time, like, Love needed to be better and more consistent, right? The decision making, like the same things that you saw in his first full season, you kind of saw in the second season of like, okay, like this can get cleaned up. And people were like, well, we want a gunslinger. But then when you got a gunslinger, like he did in Brett Favre, they're going to throw interceptions. So I think that there's already this bias heading into it, because to go from Aaron Rodgers, the guy who threw like 4 interceptions a year, to Love, there's a difference there. So for me, I think heading into this year where he is hopefully healthy, I know he still has the non-throwing hand injury with his thumb, but that seems to be okay. But getting that, going out and drafting 2 receivers, including Matthew Gold and Savion Williams, and just having options there, and still having those things that we were talking about, other receivers, still be true. Wicks is still a good route runner, just needs to catch the ball. Jaden Reed, he's currently dealing with an injury. He's another guy, right, who had some ball security issues. Romeo Doubs, love Romeo Doubs. Dude has had 2 major concussions, right? Like, so there's some concerns there. But the fact that the Packers still have those guys on the roster, Watson is expected to be back sooner rather than later. And on top of that, they got Josh Jacobs last year, who was phenomenal.
Beast, yeah.
And they got more blockers. Everyone hated the Jordan Morgan pick, but that seems to be working out really well now. They went and got Aaron Banks as well. They went and got Belton. So I think that all of those guys, what that means is you have a good ground game. Hopefully Marshawn Lloyd could actually see the field, but you have a good ground game with Jacobs. You have a lot of potential with the receivers, and you have better blocking. Everything is pointing for him to have more of a 2023, back end kind of season, if he can stay healthy. But that's also why this is such a big year for Jordan Love, because not that there's no excuses, but there's, okay, we got you some of the help that you were looking for. We haven't drafted a wide receiver in the first round since forever, right? It's been like 23 years. Now you got one. Now we got additional protection in free agency and also in the draft. You got him. So I think that now it's a matter of, okay, what really is the ceiling of this offense with Jordan Love under center? And I think the potential is super duper high, but ultimately it's just going to be, can he be consistent?
So I'm curious just how high you are. Everybody's been talking about the top quarterbacks this offseason. There's obviously the 4 guys in the AFC, right? Like, nobody's doubting that you're putting Burrow, Lamar, Allen, Mahomes up there. But that number 5 spot is up for grabs, and we haven't named any NFC guys. Of course, the people that are up there, like in the Mike Sando list, Stafford was up there, but there's Jaden Daniels, there's Jared Goff. There's other guys like CJ Stroud and Justin Herbert that are up there.
Sure.
To dilate where your expectations are, do you think Jordan Love could be the guy to really step up this year, take over that offense, and get that number 5 spot?
Ooh, I mean, I think you're looking, because another guy you can mention there too, because I have a really tough time ranking rookies that high.
Oh.
Because it's just like, it's 1 year, right? So like Jaden Daniels, who I really, really liked.
No,
but
different.
Like Baker Mayfield has to be up there, right? Like he had a phenomenal season last year.
Yeah,
so
he's
like,
been awesome.
I would say if Love is floating around 6-7, I'm pretty damn happy, where he is. Stafford, I would agree with you. I don't know how his back is now. Jared Goff, I think he is very good within that Lions system. I think that you can see some of his limitations. I just don't know if this is going to sound super late. I just don't know if we've seen everything from Jordan Love, right? Like, I want to see like what another full season looks like year 3 for him. So I think that is very possible that he's definitely a top 10 quarterback. And yeah, I think based off his ceiling, he could go up to 5. I think you could start making some arguments that are like, Mayfield, Hurts is pretty damn good too. Stafford, if he's healthy, you mentioned Stroud, had a little bit of a step back. If Daniels is able to replicate it, sure. But yeah, I'd be very happy with 6-7. That's would be
if he's like the 6th or 7th best quarterback in the NFL this year, you guys are a legitimate. I think
we're okay.
like you're probably on the Lions and Eagles tier if he gets back to like 6th or 7th best in the league. I actually thought you were gonna say JJ McCarthy when you said rookie Jay.
Yeah, but, JJ McCarthy.
Well, I can't put him anything on the list, and that has nothing even to do with JJ. That's I can even put my Vikings hatred aside.
Tom,
hasn't seen the field.
What's like the mentality or the thought process? And I know it's Green Bay and the NFC North. They have a tough schedule this season, and the Lions are a good team. It's not going to be easy. But what's the thought process? Like, you drafted Matthew Golden, like you said, first round receiver for the first time in 20 something years up in Green Bay. So all the cards now on the table for Jordan Love, the more he has, it's like the less and less excuses you can make. Like if he were to stay healthy, Golden's now here. He has the weapons. They're all pretty solid. And if Love is underwhelming once again, what's the thought process or what's going through your head or Packers fans' heads after this season?
Yeah, I feel like it depends in like which area he's underwhelming in, right? Is it, let's just say everyone stays healthy, right? Like receivers come back and let's just go like full, there's no injuries in the NFL and have a nice day. In that case, if it's just him struggling, I think it's going to be a matter of, okay, let's just say he, you see the flashes, but he's just not as consistent as you want to. So you're looking at maybe 30 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, 14, you know what I mean? Kind of like
the best season that Bears quarterbacks ever had.
If he throws over 4,000 yards, it's going to be better than, the Bears. But I think more for Love, I think there would just be a recalibration of like, okay, well, where's the defense at then? Okay, well, where's the run game at then? Where's the blocking at? Because they have given him $55 million. I have put it as a 2-season kind of test, right? Where it's, okay, let's see what the next 2 years looks like. Because I know that there was plenty of Packers fans, including myself, who was disappointed last year. And ultimately, I was disappointed in a bunch of things that the Packers did. And even though they had a technically better record, they're still the same seed, right? They lost to the defending Super Bowl champs in the Eagles, and they put up a pretty good fight against them. But yeah, I feel like the Packers, for them to be where we want them to be, that's going to be on the shoulders of Jordan Love. Talk about the pass rush, we can talk about the secondary and the lack of corner depth. We can talk about the receivers, talk about the run game, we talk about a lot of things. But ultimately, if Love is going to be that guy, like this year and the next year, you're going to have to see it. And again, I just keep saying this word, on a consistent basis, because there are games where he will light it up and will look absolutely incredible. And there's some where he'll struggle. So I think just making it that it's not this ebb and flow and there's just a little bit more consistency from week to week, I think that this team can win plenty of games.
One more thing on the Packers before moving on to, some of the teams that maybe you feel a little differently about. By the way, that Eagles-Packers game, I mean, had to have been one of the worst calls I've ever seen, right? Off the top of that with the kickoff.
Dude, literally first play, like right on the first kickoff.
You knew how it was.
Like, I'd say I have I don't like the Packers, but like I respect them. And I actually, fortunately, every Packer fan I've ever met is just great. Like great friends who are Packers fans.
You went to Green Bay, Ziggy.
I don't feel that way about the Eagles. So I was actually rooting for you. I mean, that might be like treason, and if I were to walk in Minnesota, but I hate the Eagles. So I was actually
why though?
upset.
They usually on Monday Night Football they treat you so well. Usually,
championship. Yeah, right. It's fine. I just it's especially growing up in New York. Like we're in New York, New Jersey. It is just like I can't. It's too much. Fair.